versatile gourd. I love it so much. You can carve it, you can decorate with it, you can buy 1,000 different varieties of it and put it on your TV set, always a good thing. But in honor of our second annual Pumpkin Palooza, here in the kitchen, I'm gonna make the ultimate comfort dish with some of that delicious pumpkin. I'm making a pumpkin mac and cheese, and I'm very excited about it. I know. It's like mac and cheese season, in my opinion. Now, I'm gonna be making a stovetop mac and cheese, one that you just like mix in a pot and then pop into a bowl. But this one also works really well if you wanna bake it, make it a little bit more fancy, or if you wanna add like sausage, little chorizo, little Italian sausage in there. We're going veg-ish today. We will show you though. So the first thing we need to do, anytime you're making any pasta, obviously get to work on those noodles. So I've got a pot of boiling water here. And into there, I wanna season that really well. This is where everybody's all like, Mary, that's too much salt, but it's not. Don't worry, we're dumping most of this water out, but you wanna season it really well because you wanna make those noodles delicious. So honestly, most of that salt just goes down the drain, but it does season those noodles beautifully, and it also actually seasons the sauce because we're gonna add a little bit of that right on into there. So for the noodles, I'm going with a short noodle. I'm using like a rotini or a fusilli. You could do shells, you could do classic macaroni, you could do really anything you're looking for. You want about 350 grams for this. So I'm just gonna add that right on into my pot. Give that a little bit of a stir just to start that going. And then I wanna cook those until basically they are the texture that I wanna eat. Maybe a hair under. If you were to bake this though, I'd cook it for about a minute less than you think you should, because they're actually gonna continue baking in the oven, but again, stovetop, so cook them till they taste good to you. Now, we wanna make a beautiful little cheese sauce. So I've got a pan here over about medium heat. So I'm gonna add in some butter. We need to start with 3 tablespoons of butter. Anytime you're making a cream sauce, basically what you're looking to do is make almost a roux. And roux are basically a mixture of fat and flour together, but we wanna start flavoring it. So I'm going in with those 3 tablespoons of butter, letting those melt down. And then I'm gonna add in 2 cloves of garlic. Now I've already minced that up. Minced garlic is beautiful because it tastes really punchy, and it goes so well when it sweetens up with that beautiful pumpkin. So I'm gonna go on into that pan. Let that toast for about 30 seconds, but into that butter and that beautiful garlic, I'm also gonna add in some sage. So I've got sage right over here, and I want just about a tablespoon of that. I love the flavor of sage and pumpkin together. If you're not feeling sage, you can swap this out easily with a little bit of rosemary. You can leave it out altogether, to be honest. Even if you wanted to do something a little brighter and fresher, you could do basil, but I would save it and add it at the very end because it does tend to turn brown if you heat it. So this is gonna go in though. Any sort of woody herb you wanna add in earlier. So that's gonna almost fry in that butter with that garlic. So already it smells arguably too delicious in here, always a good start. I'm gonna season that up with a little bit of salt, give that a whisk together, and already that is looking absolutely perfect. So now we're gonna turn this butter mixture into a roux. So for that, I need that flour. So I need 3 tablespoons of flour. Anytime you're making a roux, it's usually even parts fat and flour. So just scatter that right on over top. 1, 2, this is where I lose track because I'm talking. You know when you're baking and you gotta do a lot of measurements and then someone like your well-meaning husband or mom comes in and asks a question, you're like, you gotta stop. It happens to the best of us, believe me. All right, give that a whisk in, and you wanna let that flour toast away for about 30 seconds. Basically what you're doing here is you're cooking off that raw flour flavor, because if I were to add my liquid in immediately, it will never get rid of that kind of gluey taste. We don't want that. But basically until it turns a little bit golden, just like this, This is absolutely perfect. So now I'm gonna add in my liquid. Now for that, I wanna use milk. I'm going in with any sort of milk you want. If you're a skim milk person, go for it. Personally, I'm not, because that just tastes like weird water. I'm like a whole milk gal, but like 2% is delicious and perfect. So I'm actually going in with cold milk. You can do that easily with any sort of cream sauce. It is likely to clump up though. If you're a little worried about those lumps, feel free to use warm milk. Just put it in the microwave, let it go, and then you won't get as many lumps. But to be honest, lumps happen. It's life. It's not that big of a deal. They cook out and it's gonna be totally beautiful. So I'm gonna add that milk right on in. Give that a good whisk. And again, we've got lumps, but trust me, they will cook out, don't worry. And this already smells so creamy and delicious, right? That's sage, get out of town. What a delight. All right, now I'm gonna let that come up to a simmer, and you want that to cook down for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until it starts to thicken. While that does that, we're gonna talk pumpkin, obviously, and cheese. Now, since this is a mac and cheese, I wanted to use cheddar, because that's just a classic, but you can really use any sort of cheese you want. I've got about 1.5 cups of cheese here. So I've got 1 cup of regular old cheddar, and then I've also got 1/2 cup of smoked Gouda. I love a smoked cheese this time of year. You could also do a smoked cheddar. You could do like a smoked mozzarella or provolone for like a stretchier, ooier, gooier. But these are what I'm feeling today. And then I've also got my pumpkin. I've got 1 cup of canned pumpkin here. Canned pumpkin, be careful, because it's right next to canned pumpkin pie filling, and you do not want that. Pumpkin pie filling has sugar, it's got spices, it's got all that stuff in it. This is just pure pumpkin, or to be honest, other squashes. So I'm gonna add that in. I've got some sauce that's already thickened right over here, looking absolutely beautiful. See that beautiful, thick, creamy sauce? Once that's simmered, that's what that's gonna look like. So I'm gonna go in with my pumpkin, and this makes a very thick sauce, which honestly, not the worst thing in the world. You're gonna thin it out with that pasta cooking liquid once those noodles are done. But this is gonna get that beautiful pumpkin flavor in, gives you a nice creamy note, and adds a little bit of nutrients, a little bit of vitamin C, always a good thing. Now, I'm gonna go in with my cheeses. I've got that cheddar and that smoked Gouda right on in. Just dump it on in. Honestly, I say 1.5 cups. This is more than that. That's okay. You measure cheese with your heart, in my personal opinion, so, you know, do your thing. So I'm just gonna add that in, give it a little bit of a stir, and you just wanna heat that over medium-low heat until all that cheese melts and gets ooey and gooey. Now, I'm gonna season that with a bit more salt, little bit of pepper as well, and then does anyone know what, well, in my opinion, pumpkin's best friend is? It's nutmeg. I don't have any pockets today, so I was like, where do I put it? So I put it in my collar. So we're gonna go. If you don't wanna do that, obviously just keep it in your pantry, but we're getting into nutmeg emergency time. Someone might bring out eggnog, and I'm like, what do? I gotta have nutmeg. So add a little bit of that right on in. Just give it a zest, you know. That tells a little bit of lemoniness, a little bit of brightness. That's gonna come together. These noodles are cooking. So it's looking fantastic. I'm gonna give it a stir because I feel like it's gonna be extra beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at that. With that stringy, beautiful cheese in there. Okay, that is gonna be excellent. Put that on literally anything and I'll eat it. What a thrill. But now I'm gonna get to work on a crunchy topping, because anytime I have something that's like creamy, especially a pasta, I like a little bit of texture. Sometimes I'll eat a bite and I'll eat another bite and I'm like, I want something new. And a crunch, that's what you want, in my personal opinion. Okay, so I've got a pan here over about medium heat. Now I've got 6 slices of pancetta here that I've diced up. You could also use a little bit of bacon. That would be perfect as well. But pancetta is really nice. It's not as smoky, so if you're looking for more smokiness, obviously go for that bacon. Now typically when I'm making pancetta, similar to how I make bacon, I usually start it in a cold pan. But today, we don't have time for that, so we're going in a hot pan. When I start it in a cold pan, that leads to more rendering of the fat, because essentially starting it in that cold pan allows that fat to kind of melt out of that pancetta before it crisps up. By putting it into a hot pan, still a little bit melts out, but it kind of crisps up before it comes out. So I'm not gonna end up with as much pancetta fat. Not the worst thing in the world because we have butter for that, but if you did wanna just use pancetta fat, start it in a cold pan. Now I'm gonna cook that down just until it's a little bit crispy. It smells very good. I've got a pancetta facial going on right now. All right, now I'm gonna transfer these noodles on into that sauce. So I've got a fancy kitchen device that is known as a spider. It's not scary, even though it is getting close to Halloween. But it's basically just like a sieve, essentially. Anytime I'm making pasta and I wanna add some of that liquid into the sauce, I usually don't drain this. I usually just kind of scoop it over. Any water that comes along is gonna be totally fine, because pasta water is kind of a secret ingredient. What it likes to do is it almost both thins things down, but also thickens and emulsifies them up. Because there's starch in that water now, that's just gonna kind of bring everything together and make everything beautiful. So we're just gonna add that on in as that pancetta gets to browning. We're already getting there a little bit. All right. Now, since that is such a thick sauce, I am gonna add a spoonful of this cooking liquid. That's just gonna thin it out, because anytime you're doing a thicker kind of pasta, you want it to be thinner in the pan than you want it on the plate, because it tends to tighten up as it cools, because that's what starch does. So a few little ladles, good to go. Give that a stir. And that is gonna thicken up absolutely beautifully. Now again, if you wanted to, you could easily put this into the oven now, right in this pan, pop a little bit of those crunchers on top, maybe a little bit of extra cheese, and you have got something totally delicious. But again, with that crisp on top. We've got this pancetta, it's browning down, looking beautiful. I'd cook it a little bit more now, but since I don't have a ton of that fat, I do need some because I'm gonna toast something. So I'm gonna add in a little bit of butter. It feels kind of weird adding like butter essentially to bacon, but don't worry, it works. So I'm going in with a tablespoon. You could do 2 tablespoons, whatever your heart's content. And I'm also gonna add in a little bit of sage, again, to mimic the flavors going on in that sauce. So I've got about a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of sliced sage. Add that in. Again, it's gonna fry in that butter and that pancetta fat. And honestly, I don't know what could be wrong with that, so it's a delight. Now, for those crunch, I'm going in with some panko. Now, panko is all crunch, not a lot of flavor. So by toasting it, you get a ton of flavor out of it. So I'm gonna add in about half a cup of that right on into the pan. Maybe a little bit more, because I love a crunch. And then for a little bit of heat, I love chili with my pumpkin. So just some chili flakes right on into the pan. If you don't like the spice, feel free to leave them out. Season that with some salt. Give that a stir, and then you just want to toast that until that panko is nice and golden and that pancetta is nice and cooked through. Now, we're gonna go over here because through the magic of television, we already have some done. I'm very excited. These pumpkins here, you think they're just decoration, but no, they are adorable little mac and cheeses. Some of that amazing crunch all on top. Now, if you wanted to, you could easily do this crisp without that pancetta. Just use that beautiful butter, and it will taste totally delicious. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Okay, cool, mac and cheese forever, am I right? Let's give it a taste. We've got that pumpkin, we got the cheese, the sage, the nutmeg. That is so creamy, so crispy, totally delicious. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.